on the call yet.
Yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, we had been in communication about today. I'm going to actually have my office reach out to her right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So in addition, we're missing Miss Maria Garza. Miss Garza is the attorney for the respondent, Father Jason Perez. I think, Virginia, you've already sent out, I can see a reminder notice to her so that she would be joining us shortly. But Mr. Perez does not appear to be on the call. And we do have Miss Jaylene Perez. We have our placement present as well. So we are going to go ahead and I'll give you a minute, Mr. Dykes, to try to get your client on the call, and I will address Ms. Fisher. It appears that Ms. Rodriguez has retained counsel, and in this case, then I would think it would be appropriate to dismiss you from your appointment at this time.
Yes, Your Honor. I was notified about this by my client yesterday and by the department, and so I just was appearing to make certain that her new attorneys appeared.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that, and I will thank you for your work on the case and dismiss you at this time.
Okay, thank you, Your
So
Honor.
you're free to go. Thank you. You may be excused. And while Mr. Dykes, you're working to get Ms. Rodriguez on the call, I also neglected to mention that both Ms. Francie Gash and Ms. Connie Lopez are both here with CASA of South Texas. Thank you for being here, and I'm sorry I failed to mention that for the record. Okay, so let me ask Mr. Dykes if you've been successful getting a hold of her.
Your Honor, I just left a voicemail and I've asked my paralegal to follow up. And
Okay.
But she was aware of today, and I was under the impression that she would be here.
Okay. Well, hopefully she'll join. I will keep my eye out on the waiting room if anybody enters, but we'll go ahead and get started so that at least at the very least you can get up to date on where we are in the case, and all parties can get an update on where we are. So
thank you. So Ms. Salazar, did you have any contact with Megan Rodriguez prior to today's hearing?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the nature of that contact?
We were in contact yesterday. She had informed me that she had retained an attorney and she requested the Zoom link for the hearing today.
Did you send her the link?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do you know of any reason why she is not here today? Car accident, sudden illness, anything of an unexpected nature?
No, ma'am.
Has she contacted you after that request for the link to indicate anything to you why she would not be here today?
We have not spoken since.
All right. Now, let's talk about Ms. Rodriguez. Is she participating in her services?
She's just begun participating in her services.
All right. Let's talk about what she was supposed to do and her participation or lack thereof up until the point of this hearing, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind. Ms. Rodriguez was scheduled to required to do a psychological. The referrals were made timely. Ms. Rodriguez was for her psychological, she no-showed 2 of her appointments. Well, one of her appointments, she no-showed. The other appointment, she did not make herself readily available for that appointment. With optimal counseling, they informed mindful innovations. Pardon me. They informed me that due to Mrs. Rodriguez's lack of interest in that psychological, they were going to be recommending 4 therapy sessions prior to. Ms. Rodriguez did begin engaging with her psychological on 2/10 as scheduled. Psychological was to be performed on March the 3rd. I have not heard back whether that was completed or not with Mindful Innovations.
Do we know if she did show up on March 3rd?
I'm not certain, and she showed up.
You indicated in your report that she has informed you that she has a scheduled appointment on March 3rd. And that she had also contacted you to tell you that she was scheduling an appointment, right?
That's correct.
But does she typically let you know she's been to the appointment, or? I know today is only the 10th. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she typically lets me know. She did not, and I did reach out to Mindful Innovations requesting an update. I just haven't received it yet.
Okay. All right. Please continue.
Yes, thank you. Regarding individual therapy, that was also another required service. Ms. Rodriguez was unsuccessfully discharged from AB counseling. Ms. Rodriguez did request that I get another therapist because they could not meet eye to eye. Although AB counseling reported that Ms. Rodriguez was preoccupied when they tried to have therapy with her. She was putting on her makeup and then had indicated that she wasn't able to speak. They reminded Ms. Rodriguez that the appointment had been pre-scheduled. They discharged her unsuccessfully from that. I then informed Ms. Rodriguez of this. She will continue with therapy with Mindful Innovations as they requested before they conduct the psychological.
Okay, I just need to clarify. Was she not connected on virtual therapy while she was putting on the makeup, or did she actually have an in-person session and was not connecting and putting on the makeup? I didn't understand that.
Oh, pardon me. It was a virtual session and she was putting on makeup during the session.
I see. And she was, to your knowledge, asked not to do that?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
That's okay. Ms. Rodriguez, regarding parenting classes, Ms. Rodriguez was requested to conduct parenting classes as well. Ms. Rodriguez began engagement with the San Antonio Fatherhood Campaign. She began these classes. She started her first class. Her first appointment was 12:15. She did engage in that class. Ms. Rodriguez no-showed the classes thereafter. She was unsuccessfully discharged from parenting class with San Antonio Foundation. They would reinstate her upon Ms. Rodriguez making contact with them. Ms. Rodriguez did make contact with the Fatherhood Campaign on 2/14, where she began her services. Ms. Rodriguez has engaged in, she's completed 3 thus far. As of 2/14, she has completed 3 of her classes. She has missed 1.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Domestic violence. She was also ordered to engage in domestic violence. Ms. Rodriguez was going to engage through the San Antonio Fatherhood Campaign for Domestic Violence. She attended her first class on 12/19. She no-showed 3 classes thereafter. She was discharged from the San Antonio Fatherhood Campaign on January the 12th. I informed her via email, via text message, that she needed to make contact with them in order to get re-engaged. Ms. Rodriguez did make contact on 2/8 for domestic violence. She has completed, as of 2/8, she has completed 4 of her classes.
Okay.
Ms. Rodriguez also has parent-child visits. There have been a total of 28 visits thus far from August to March the 8th. Ms. Rodriguez has attended 8. Ms. Rodriguez has missed 11 of the 28. Regarding the drug tests that we've requested Ms. Rodriguez to adhere to, we have requested a total of 9 drug tests. Ms. Rodriguez has no-showed 6 of the drug tests. One of the drug tests, she did show up. She did not have enough urine. She was asked to stay, she left, and she refused the hair follicle. We have been, we've assisted. She had mentioned that she needed transportation assistance. We attempted to transport Ms. Rodriguez to these here, to the drug test, to no avail. Most recently, Ms. Rodriguez tested positive for methamphetamine at the drug test that we requested on March the 1st.
Okay. And when you said something about the transportation, can you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
Yes, I'm happy to. Ms. Rodriguez, during our meeting on 2/10, and before that, she's requested transportation. We've offered transportation en route on 2 separate occasions, en route to her home to pick her up. She's canceled the transportation.
Okay.
I believe that is regarding her services, that's all.
Okay. Now, have you verified whether or not Ms. Rodriguez has obtained a safe, stable, or appropriate home for this child?
Ms. Rodriguez continues to live in the same home.
And is that in the home where the children were removed from her parents?
Yes.
Okay. You indicated that there's a question about her employment. Can you be more specific?
Yeah, Ms. Rodriguez informed us on 2/10 that, and she's mentioned before that she is self-employed, that I believe she does tattoos and she does stringing on the eyebrows. I think that's what you might call it. When we met with Ms. Rodriguez on 2/10, she did inform me and the CASA representative that for January, she did not earn any wages. However, when I asked to confirm prior employment income, she disclosed large amounts of deposits, 500, 250, and so on in January. We asked Ms. Rodriguez, where did she get that money from? Because she had previously informed us that she had not earned any income. So I asked Ms. Rodriguez to submit any type of pay stubs, a W-2, self-reporting, anything to demonstrate that the earnings she's obtained are from a legal source.
Was she able to do so?
She has not yet.
Okay. Was one of the requirements that reunification was that Ms. Rodriguez be able to provide a safe, stable, and appropriate home for the child?
Yes.
And did you indicate that she has not been able to do so?
She has not been able to do so.
And is she in compliance with her services?
She is not.
At this time, would it be safe to reunite the child with Ms. Perez?
No.
And why not?
It would not be safe to return Maliana to the home because there continues to be ongoing concern for domestic violence between Jason Perez and Megan Rodriguez. Megan Rodriguez was stabbed in the abdomen by Jason Perez when an argument escalated. Returning Maliana to her home would put her in danger to her physical safety and emotional welfare. Ms. Rodriguez continues to be in a relationship with Jason Perez. Ms. Rodriguez has also graduated from synthetic marijuana to methamphetamines. Returning Maliana to this home would put her in danger to her physical safety and her emotional welfare. Jason Perez would not be safe to return the child to Jason Perez. Jason Perez has a drug history. Jason Perez is homeless and Jason Perez is violent. Returning Maliana to this home would put her in danger to her physical safety and her emotional welfare.
Okay, and is it correct to say that Ms. Rodriguez has not completed services that would address these issues?
That's correct.
And you did mention Mr. Perez. Can you tell us what efforts? Well, first of all, have you been in contact with him?
I've not met Mr. Perez since I've been assigned to this case, October the 5th of 2022.
Have you reached out to him?
He doesn't have a phone number. I have made contact with collaterals. I have made contact with family members. I have called the Dilley police, the Pearsall. I have been to his home. I go to his last known address every month to no avail.
Is he in compliance with his plan of service?
He is not.
What is the major concern with Mr. Pettis?
The major concern with Mr. Pettis is that he's violent. He has a history of drugs, but he's violent.
Okay. And is there any concern that Megan Rodriguez continues to be in a relationship with him?
Yes.
And you indicated that you believe that would be a danger to her and to any child if a child were returned to her care.
That's correct. Ms. Rodriguez could not protect herself. She would not be able to protect her child. That would, it would be putting Maliana in physical danger.
Okay, let's talk about the child. Where is she now?
Maliana is placed with her older sister and her common law wife.
All right, and would the caregiver be here today on Zoom?
She is.
And to your knowledge, as long as you've had the case, has she attended hearings and kept abreast of what is going on in the case?
Yes, and she transports the child to all her parent-child visits, and they transport the child to Corpus Christi when we have sibling visits.
All right. Have you been to the home?
I have.
Can you describe what the home is like where the child is placed?
Right. It's a very pretty one-bedroom home, updated home. There's plenty of space for the child, for her personal belongings, for her toys. It's a very spacious place.
All right. And is it a safe, stable, and appropriate environment for this baby?
Yes, it is.
Is she meeting, I think your report said she's meeting all her developmental milestones.
Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Are there any issues the court needs to know about?
No, Maliana is safe and happy and bonded to her caregiver.
All right. Have you observed the way that she interacts with the caregiver, Ms. Pettis?
Yes.
And what is that like?
She's bonded to her. For some reason, she hasn't. She's afraid of me. So when she sees me, she will, go directly to Jaylene or Giselle. She'll ask for hugs. They understand her cues. She eats everything. Giselle cooks very well. So they have helped. I've been there for dinner when they've been preparing dinner, and yeah, the baby is happy. She eats everything. It's a very happy, stable, loving, supportive home.
And what is the permanency goal for the child?
Relative adoption.
And has the caregiver indicated that she is willing to do this?
Yes, she has.
Okay. Is the department asking that the child remain in placement?
Yes.
And that the department continue as the temporary managing conservator of this child?
That's correct.
And would it be in the child's best interest to do those things?
Yes.
Thank you. Pass the witness.
All right. Let me just note for the record that Ms. Megan Rodriguez appears to have joined the hearing. Ms. Rodriguez, I'd like to instruct you to start your video and to have it placed so that we can see you clearly. So I'm going to ask that now at this time. So not your ceiling, but your face. And so if you can adjust that, please. And if you can do a little more down so that we can see your full face. Okay, thank you. All right, so
Your
Mr.
Honor,
Dykes, do you have?
Can I note for the record that this hearing started at 9 and mom chose to join at about 9:24?
Yes, she just joined and she is with us. Ms. Garza also joined right after we began the initial testimony. So Ms. Garza has been here from the beginning. We just, I didn't get a chance to note that for the record. So Mr. Dykes, do you have questions for Ms. Salazar?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. Ms. Salazar, you mentioned that you were unaware whether or not mom had completed a psychological on March 3rd. Is that correct?
Yes, I have not received the psychological back, nor have I received confirmation from Mindful Innovations that it's been completed.
Do you have access to a copy of the family plan evaluation dated March 7th, 2023?
I don't have it in front of me, but I developed it.
Okay, so you formed this, you wrote this document?
The family plan of service, yes, sir.
Okay. I'd like to represent to you and represent to the court that on page 8 of family plan evaluation, there's a note here that states evaluation of progress. It does state here Ms. Rodriguez completed her psychological on 3/3/2023. Was that so is that an indication that she had completed it, or that was an error, or what is?
Yes, thank you for bringing that to my attention. That is an error. That was the scheduled appointment. I wrote the family plan of service and prior to that. So yes, my apologies.
Okay, so this statement, Ms. Rodriguez completed her psychological on 3/3/2023. That's not accurate.
That's not accurate. That's correct.
Okay. I want to ask you a little bit about your concerns for ongoing domestic violence between my client and Mr. Perez.
Yes,
You stated that they are still in a relationship. Is that right?
that's correct.
Sorry, hold on just a second. And how do you, where is that coming from? Where did you?
Okay. Mr. Perez has used Miss Rodriguez's cell phone to make contact with family members. Most recently, at the parent-child visit on March the 7th, Mr. Perez was at Children Matters. Miss Rodriguez has her parent-child visit at Children Matters. Mr. Rodriguez was there across the street waiting for Miss Perez to return from that parent-child visit.
Okay, so you're saying that Mr. Perez has used Mrs. Rodriguez's cell phone recently? When was that?
Give me one moment. It was on 2/10. It was on 2/10. Yes, he texted his mother from her cell phone after our visit, or at some time after our visit with Miss Rodriguez on 2/10.
Okay, and you said that was during a scheduled visitation by Miss Rodriguez?
Well, the visitation was on March the 7th, this Wednesday. So, yes, I'm sorry. So the text message was used by Megan's phone from Mr. Perez to his mother on February the 10th, sometime after my visit with Miss Rodriguez. That was February the 10th. March the 7th, this Wednesday, Jason Perez was waiting for Miss Rodriguez by her truck across the street from Children Matters while she was visiting with Maliana.
So you saw Mr. Perez there?
I did not.
So okay, so who informed you that Mr. Perez was there?
He was identified by his daughter.
By his daughter. Okay, so
Jayleen
his
Perez.
daughter told you.
His adult daughter, who was caring for Maliana, was present and identified him, was concerned, and she let me know.
Okay. I'd like to ask you a little bit about Miss Rodriguez's living situation. You mentioned that she's in the same home that the kids were removed from. She's living with her parents. That's correct?
That's correct.
And that you stated that would not be a safe, stable environment for Maliana to return to, right?
That's correct.
And the concern there is that there would be ongoing domestic violence. But you also mentioned that Mr. Perez is homeless right now. Is that correct?
Correct.
So to your knowledge, he's not living in the home with Miss Rodriguez?
I have no direct information that he resides in that home.
Okay, but as far as you're aware, I mean, you mentioned that he's homeless, so he's not living there, right?
Right. I don't know if he is living there. If he stays there, I don't know. It's probable.
Okay. With regards to a hair follicle test, there was a hair follicle test done in this case. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what were the results of Miss Rodriguez's hair follicle exam?
She tested positive for methamphetamine.
Has she been scheduled to do a follow-up hair follicle to determine whether or not levels are increasing or decreasing or staying the same?
We have not yet. We just received the results on a 3/7.
Okay.
A 3/7.
Is it the department's intention to schedule a follow-up to make that determination?
We do random drug tests. Yes, sir.
Okay, but just to clarify, is it your determination, or rather, is it the department's intention to, at some point, randomly schedule her for another hair follicle exam to determine whether or not levels are dropping?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you also talked about Ms. Rodriguez's employment potentially being an issue. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And what do you need from my client to be able to establish that this employment is stable?
Ms. Rodriguez, as I informed her, she can provide us with tax return, a 1099. When she files her taxes, she can provide that information that would suffice.
Okay. And what do you have any concerns about Ms. Rodriguez's parents? They're the ones who are living in the home with her right now, correct?
That's correct.
Do you have any issues with them?
I have not met her parents.
Okay, so she's residing with those two individuals, her parents, and you haven't talked to them at all?
I haven't met them, no.
Okay. And I'd like to get your honest opinion here. Do you feel that Ms. Rodriguez has made any progress from when this case began to now? I mean, it sounds like she has made some services, right?
Ms. Rodriguez has, yes, sir. Ms. Rodriguez has completed some of her services. Domestic violence and parenting classes, those are great classes that a parent can attend. But with Ms. Rodriguez continuing a relationship with Jason Perez, despite those domestic violence classes and despite the fact that she was stabbed by him and continues to be in a relationship with Jason Perez, she has not learned from the classes that she's taking. So I can't say that that's successful, despite the fact that she's present.
If that relationship was done, would that resolve that issue for the department?
It would resolve the issue.
Okay. Do you believe that Ms. Rodriguez is capable of getting to the point in which the department would recommend that her child be returned to her?
Ms. Rodriguez should be following her service plan. Ms. Rodriguez should not be doing drugs. She should be staying away from violent people, engaging in her services and learning from those services. But due to repeated failure of her services and not learning from her classes, we've recommended termination and adoption by relative.
But do you feel that you've spoken with Ms. Rodriguez, correct?
That's correct.
Has she expressed an interest in getting her child back?
Ms. Rodriguez has expressed interest in getting her child back.
Do you believe that she can become compliant with her service plan?
Not as of date.
Okay. I don't believe I have any other questions for this witness, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Dykes. Ms. Garza, any questions for Ms. Salazar?
Yes, Your Honor. Now, with regards to Mr. Jason Bettis, you indicated you've not had any contact with him since you've been appointed to this case. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. From your notes or your correspondence with the previous caseworkers, has there been any contact with Mr. Bettis regarding this case?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So as far as you know, you have no knowledge as to whether Mr. Bettis was interested in or wishing to work services in order to be reunified with his daughter?
I have no knowledge.
Okay. So at this time, have there been any services or any kind of engagement or contact by Mr. Bettis with the department?
Mr. Perez is not interested in this case or in his child.
Okay, and you say he's not interested in this case or his child. Why do you say that?
Because Mr. Perez is aware of this case, and I've made contact with his family members. He is aware of this case. I've sent him emails as well. I've sent him his family plan of service, and he has just not contacted me or shown any interest in being a part of this case or reunifying with his child.
Okay, and you indicate that you sent him a service plan. Where did you send that to?
His email?
Okay, did you ever receive any confirmation that he actually received that?
I did not.
So as far as you know, you don't know if he actually has a copy of the service plan or if he has actual knowledge of the setting today.
That's correct.
And how often would you say well, let me ask you this. When was the last time you tried to communicate with Mr. Bettis?
The last time I went to his home was on February the 10th.
Since February 10th, have you made any other attempts to try to communicate with Mr. Bettis?
Other than emails, no, ma'am.
Okay. You indicated other than emails. How many emails have you sent since February 10th?
Since February the 10th, I probably sent him 2 emails, one with his family plan of service, and the other email was to remind him of this case with the Zoom link.
Okay, and by this case, you mean today's setting?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and how did you get how did you get this email?
I believe I received it from the previous worker.
So as far as you know, you don't even know or can't verify whether this is actually his email. That'd be correct?
It's his first and last name, but that's correct.
And prior to February 10th, when did you attempt to reach out to him?
I don't have the date in January, but we make monthly contact with our parents.
And these monthly contacts, do they all involve a visit to the last known residence and phone calls to the last phone number?
That's correct. And then collaterals, contact with his mother, contact with his oldest daughter, Jaylene. Yes.
Okay. And you indicated that he had knowledge of this case. Do you have verification of that?
Yes. The removing affidavit states that he was in contact through the investigator and he was drug tested when the incident occurred. So yes, he was made aware.
Okay. And as far as these collaterals, did you ever receive any confirmation that he actually received any information?
No.
So it's possible that he may not know about today's setting. Would that be correct?
Not likely.
I mean, the question is, it's possible whether.
It's possible.
Okay. Right. Have you communicated with the mother as far as how to locate Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Okay. Has the mother provided you with any information?
The mother has indicated that he at times makes contact with his uncle.
And have you reached out to that uncle to try to locate him?
I have not contacted the uncle.
Now, I believe you
have
indicated
given Ms. Pettis, his mother, my number to provide to the uncle as well, given them my business card so that Mr. Pettis, when and if he shows up, can make contact with me.
Okay, but you still don't have any confirmation as to whether he's received this information. Would that be correct?
I do not.
Okay. At the family group conference for this family service, for this plan of service, do you have any notes in your case file indicating whether Mr. Bettis was present?
Mr. Pettis, he was not present. I have not met Mr. Pettis.
Okay. Were you aware if he was present at the status hearing?
I believe, I am not certain. I don't want to misspeak.
So as far as you know, you can't confirm whether he was part of the process for developing the service plan and whether he has actual knowledge of the services that were required by the department. Would that be correct?
Yes.
Has Ms. Rodriguez, by any chance, indicated to you if there were any barriers for our Mr. Bettis in engaging in any services or contacting the department?
Ms. Rodriguez, when we spoke on the 10th, informed myself and CASA that she had not been in contact with Mr. Rodriguez since November the 22nd of 2022. However, if Mr. Pettis went with Ms. Rodriguez to the parent-child visit, I would presume that he would have knowledge of this case if he escorted Ms. Pettis to the parent-child visit.
Okay, but you yourself can't verify that that happened, correct?
I personally cannot. No, ma'am. I was not there.
And nobody else from the department could verify that or confirm that that happened either, correct?
That's correct.
Now, you indicate that Mr. Bettis is homeless. How did you get that information?
From the collaterals from his mother and from his daughter, when I speak to them several times a month, just kind of trying to get any updates on Mr. Pettis, they inform me that he is homeless.
Now, the last known address that you were provided for Mr. Bettis, what was the result of those visits?
There was no one. There's never anyone that answers the door.
Okay, does the home or residence appear to be lived in?
Yes.
Did you leave note cards or send any correspondence to that address?
Yes. Note cards.
Note cards, okay. Like leaving them on the door?
Yes. And there's mail. There was mail. There's always mail in the mailbox as well. The mailbox is open, so you can see that there's mail that's put in there.
Okay, just to be clear, I think you indicated the last time that you visited that residence was February 10th, correct?
That's correct.
Have you seen any life in that home?
Other than mail in the mailbox, there's curtains on the windows, but other than that, no one's answered the door.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, before we move on to our next witness, this is my second and final instruction, Ms. Rodriguez. You're going to participate in these Zoom hearings. You need to keep your phone in one spot. You don't need to be texting or doing anything else, and we need to see your whole face. So right now, that's sufficient, but do not move the phone. I don't want to see your ceiling, okay? Just be still while we continue this hearing. Ms. Pearsall, do you have questions for Ms. Salazar?
I do, Your Honor. Thank you. Does Milena have a sister?
She does.
And have both of these parental rights been terminated to that sister?
Yes.
Does the current placement allow for a ton of contact with this child and her sister?
They have a ton of contact. They go to daycare together.
They also spend time at home together, correct?
They go to the
In
zoo
both homes, I
together.
should say.
They go to parades together. Yes, they do a lot of fun things together.
Okay. And has Mr. Rodriguez been consistently lying about the status of her relationship with Mr. Perez for over a year now?
Yes.
And does it seem unrealistic to say that Mr. Perez would drive the mother to her CPS visit, would stand outside the entire time of the visit, but yet has no knowledge of the CPS case?
That's correct.
Does that seem impossible?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt, but I don't understand why your screen keeps moving, Ms. Rodriguez. I've been very clear in my instruction. It is very distracting to have that move constantly. There's no reason why a phone can't be situated and stable. Place it in front of you and don't move it. This is the last time I'm going to give this instruction. If you move it again, I'm going to exit you from the hearing. I can't take it. Thank you. Ms. Pearsall, I'm sorry to have interrupted. You may continue.
No problem, Judge. What is the permanency plan in the case?
Relative adoption.
Okay, which means it's termination.
Termination of the parental rights, relative adoption by relative. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have any doubt that that is in the child's best interest?
That is absolutely in the child's best interest.
And is the department ready to proceed to trial as scheduled?
Yes.
No other questions?
All right. Any additional questions from any party for Ms. Salazar?
Just very briefly, Your Honor.
Ms. Bradley?
Miss Salazar, do your records reflect that both Megan Rodriguez and Jason Perez signed waivers of service back on July 14th, 2022.
Yes.
Thank you. Pass the witness.
All right. Any other witnesses, Ms. Bradley?
None, Your Honor.
Mr. Dykes, any witnesses from you?
Yes, Your Honor. I would like to call my client, Ms. Rodriguez.
Ms. Rodriguez, can you unmute yourself? And then please raise your right hand where I can see it. Do you swear, and please raise it. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Dykes, you may proceed.
Good morning, Ms. Rodriguez. How are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm fine. How are you?
Doing all right. I just wanted to ask you a couple of quick questions to kind of clear up some of the statements that the caseworker in this matter had made. So you had a psychological scheduled for March 3rd. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And did you complete it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you spoken with the caseworker since completing that psychological?
I believe so.
Okay. Did you inform her that you'd completed that psychological? Yes or no?
Yes, through text message. Yes.
Okay. Would you clarify for the court your relationship status with Mr. Perez?
I am not in an ongoing or relationship with Mr. Perez. Just last month, my caseworker was indicating from her intel that I was in a relationship with another person. Now this month I'm in an ongoing, and I still have communication with Mr. Perez.
Okay, just to clarify, so when did the relationship with Mr. Perez end?
I left him back in October of 2022.
And why did the relationship end?
Because we were going through some domestic violence, and we had just previously picked up this case with our new baby, and just things weren't working out and nothing was changing. So I decided to get up and leave. And
So
I've been gone ever since.
Okay, so you ended the relationship with Mr. Perez because of the ongoing domestic violence and because of your child and your child's best interest. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And are you unwilling to work services to get your child back?
No, I am currently doing my parenting classes right now and my domestic violence classes.
Okay. And if you need to take an additional drug test, another hair follicle, are you willing to do that?
Yes, sir. Hair follicle, UA. The court had ordered, last time we were in court, the judge had ordered a nail sample that has yet to be done. I was willing to do a nail sample. I'm still waiting on that nail sample. It hasn't been done. So I'm willing to do hair follicle, UA, nail sample, whatever is required of me.
And why are you willing to work these services?
Because I want my baby back. I'm not giving up. I don't want to give up. I mean, I lost my other 5 kids to these people in this courtroom last year. I'm willing to keep going and fighting for this baby. I'm not willing to just give up that easily to them. I want my baby.
So I just want to clarify a couple of other things. So one of the things that Ms. Salazar mentioned as evidence of your alleged relationship with Mr. Perez was that he used your cell phone at one point. Is that accurate? Did that happen?
One time he did see me at the store from where he lives. He lives across the store. He did see me at the store. He did ask to use the phone to call his mother, and that was it.
Why did you allow him to use your phone?
I mean, I just felt sorry for him. He was wanting to call his mom to get some money, to get something to eat. I mean, he told me, he's like, hey, can I use your phone so I can call my mom, so I can send her a text message so I can get something to eat? He called and called and called and called. She never answered. So he shot her a text message through my phone. So, I mean, I just felt sorry because he was like, can I call my mom? I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. And he was at the store that's across the street.
Yes, ma'am. Now, with regards to your employment, would you be willing to provide tax documents to the court to just establish that you are self-employed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And will you coordinate with my office after this to make sure that we can get those documents?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there anything else that you'd like the court to hear today, just with regards to your willingness to work services or your interest in getting your child back with you?
Mm. I mean, I'm willing to work my services. My parent-child visits, they go really well. The Children's Matter, they always do reports. They have reports on how the parent-child visits
I'm gonna
go
object to
as
hearsay.
well.
All right, I'll sustain.
Your Honor, I have no further questions for this witness at this time. Thank you very much, Ms. Rodriguez.
All right,
Yes,
does
sir.
anyone else have questions for Ms. Rodriguez?
No.
Yes, Judge.
All right, Ms. Pearsall.
Mr. Rodriguez, when was the last time you drank alcohol?
I want to say back in December, probably Christmas, when we had our Christmas party here at my house.
Isn't it true that you were also drinking as recently as January of this year?
No.
And you said there was ongoing domestic violence. Well, you finished the relationship in October of 2022 due to ongoing domestic violence. What was the ongoing domestic violence?
Domestic violence.
Tell us what that was.
I ended the relationship for the previous case that I had in June, and nothing was going to change. I ended the relationship.
Mr. Rodriguez, that wasn't my question. My question was, what was the domestic violence?
There was no domestic violence. I ended the relationship from the previous domestic violence in June.
Okay, so there was no domestic violence. You're now changing your answer? Mr. Rodriguez, which one is it?
There was domestic violence. That's the whole reason why this case started. Domestic violence in June. I was still in a relationship with this Mr. Paris all the way up until October. I ended the relationship in October because nothing was going to change. I felt like nothing was going to change, nothing was going to be done or anything. So I ended up I wanted to just get up and walk away from the relationship, whether there was ongoing domestic violence or not. I just wanted to walk away from it.
Okay, let me try my question for the third time. When there was a domestic violence, at whatever time period, what was the domestic violence? That's my question.
He stabbed me.
Okay. Outside of that incident, what else was a domestic violence?
A physical abuse.
Okay, can you explain that specifically? What did he do?
I really don't want to get into all that detail, but it's physical abuse.
Yana, I would ask for an instruction for the witness to answer my question.
Ms. Rodriguez, you don't get to determine whether or not a question is worth answering. Your attorney can object and he can address the court that way. Otherwise, you answer the question that's posed to you. All right, so can you please answer the question? And once again, I don't want to see your ceiling. You need to keep your phone
I rejected
steady.
a phone call. Calm down. It was I was rejected a phone
All right,
call. That's all I
I'm
was
not
doing.
I'm going to at this time end your participation in this hearing. You don't speak to the judge that way. I'm sorry. So we're gonna stop the questioning, and Ms. Rodriguez is leaving the hearing. All right. Anything else? At this time, Mr. Dykes, I'm sorry, I cannot. In the past, we've had to have in-person hearings because your client does not follow the instructions of the court. She's been disrespectful to me previously in prior hearings, and I have little tolerance for her conduct in Zoom proceedings. So I generally do this as a courtesy now for the parties, but I think in the future, this is one case that needs to be in person in the courthouse. So our next setting will be in person. Mr. Dykes, did you have any other witnesses you wish to call?
No, Your Honor, not at this time.
All right. Anyone else have witnesses to call? All right. I mean, as a matter of record at this point, I swore in Miss Jaylene Perez earlier. And I would personally, for my benefit in hearing the testimony today, just like to hear from you and ask you directly if you're able to unmute yourself, Miss Perez. I believe it was indicated earlier that you were the individual that believes you saw your father waiting outside Children Matter at one of the scheduled parent-child visits for Miss Rodriguez, and that they came or left together. Can you provide your recollection from that day to clear the record?
So when we arrived, I know what her like. I saw her at Jason Perez there.
I can't understand what she's saying.
Is it possible to get the phone a little closer? Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, that's
There.
better.
That's better? Okay. Okay, so when we arrived, of course, he was in the truck, but there was no way to get proof, I guess. So when we left, it was a 2-hour visit. On our way back, he was standing outside the vehicle, so I was able to capture a picture for Miss Salazar to see.
All right. And what date was that?
That was March the 8th.
So just 2 days ago?
On Wednesday. Is that the 8th?
All right.
Yes.
So that's after October of 2022, is it not?
Sorry, can't really hear you.
Yeah, that's all right. I think I can answer that question myself. Thank you, Ms. Perez.
You're welcome.
Anything else from any party before I turn to Ms. Pearsall and Ms. Gash for their reports? All right, Ms. Pearsall, what is your report on behalf of the child? Milena.
Your Honor, Milena is doing very well. She is in great hands. She gets lots of love, lots of attention. She spends lots and lots of time with her sister. I'm quite frankly not sure. I believe the sister still lives at Grandma's house. I think she might be living with Milena. And it's a wonderful home. There's lots of support, lots of love, lots of bonding for the sister. For the sisters between them. She is, environment where they kind of really push learning new things, letters, numbers, colors, things, she's probably a little too young to learn, but, that they're working on. I have zero concerns. It's a wonderful home. It's very protective. It's a great place.
Thank you, Ms. Pearsall. Ms. Gash, anything you would like to add?
Yes, I did go with Adela when we went down to do the sibling visit in, February the 9th. And it was very, very good. Everything went well. I had a nice visit with Jaylene, the older sister. Had a nice visit with her. And the baby is adorable. She is the cutest thing ever. And then when we came back, Adela asked me if I would go. She needed to have a visit with the mother, and she asked me if I would go with her. And I said, sure, yeah, we'll do that. So on our way back, we went to Dilley and met with the mother, and it was kind of round and around. She just kept saying she didn't want to talk about the past. She only wanted to get into the future. But it was really we were there probably an hour, maybe an hour and a half, I don't know. And it was very strange. The mother had missed a lot of visits, as Adela said. She's missed a lot of visits. She's missed drug tests, and she would always blame it on CPS or Belong, and that they didn't take her, which was really strange because before every one of her drug tests, Adela has said, I will take you. I'll come and get you and take. No, I have a ride. And then well, I didn't have a riot the day of the thing, the testing, she didn't, or whatever. So the conversation was really strange. And she got upset because Adela was trying to tell her, well, all of these services that you that you needed to do, and you just didn't do it. Well, she just had an excuse for everything, why we didn't do it. Well, I guess the most unusual thing was that everything Adela asked her, she said, I just forgot. I forgot to go to visit the kids. I forgot to go have the drug test. I forgot to go to counseling. And so, I mean, every specific area that Adela asked her, well, why did you not do this? Well, I forgot it. So it just went on and on and on. So I am 100% in agreement with Alana and the department that this would not be a good placement for the child. She's in a loving home. Her older sister and her partner are just really good with her, and she's a happy little girl. And I'm glad she sees her other sister quite a bit. The one, Elena in Pearsall. And I am in contact with Miss Bettis also. And I see her here in Pearsall. So, and I see them when they're together. So it's really nice. It's good that we could see them, but yes, I just don't think the mother's capable of raising this child. And I think they definitely need to terminate, and she needs to be adopted by her older sister. It's a very good home.
All right. Well, thank you, Ms.
Yes.
Dash. Thank you all. Based on the testimony the court has heard today, the court at this time is going to continue the current placement for Milena with Ms. Jaylene Perez. Court finds that continuation of that placement is in her best interest, that all of her physical and emotional and developmental needs are being met there presently, and it's in her best interest to remain there. The court at this time finds that there would be a continuing danger to the child if she were to be returned to either parent today, and that is because neither parent is in compliance with their court-ordered plans of service. The court at this time will order that Ms. Rodriguez engage in a drug and alcohol assessment through OSAR to address substance abuse treatment that's obviously needed at this time, and will be ordered to this is already an order of the court, pursuant to the family plan of service, that she engage in any recommended drug treatment as well. The court at this time will order monthly hair tests from this point forward, and will order that our case be set for trial. It's already set on May the 19th at 9 a.m. That will be an in-person proceeding. As I indicated earlier, I don't believe Ms. Rodriguez is capable of following the basic ground rules for Zoom proceedings, and we need to have this hearing in person that day. Is there anything else that we need to address at this time?
Eleanor, I would just ask that the court one order not limit the tests to hair tests. I think Neil.
Oh yes, I'm not. I didn't mean to do that. So to clarify my order, the department is already ordered to conduct random drug testing. I want that to continue, but in addition, I want the monthly hair tests as well. And Ms. Rodriguez is ordered not to alter or cut her hair until this case is resolved, so that we can get accurate results going forward as well with those hair tests. All right. Is there anything else we need to address at this time? If not, thank you all. All parties are excused. Thank you.